This database lesson is about table aliasing our table names in multi-table queries. The objective is just to simply learn how to do it, why we want to do it. So in the last video we learned that in certain cases when we're dealing with queries that use multiple tables, sometimes we come up against ambiguous column names. In other words, in table A it has a field called name, and in table B it has a field also called name. Now the database engine needs to understand which you're referring to at any one time, no matter which clause you might be actually referring to that field name in. And so we learned how to fully qualify each name by saying the name of the table dot the name of the field. And so we would actually have to use that to distinguish which table and field that we're talking about in any one point in our query. So what table aliasing allows us to do, it's just a way to, similar to with column aliasing that we've already learned about, the table aliasing allows me to give a different name to the table. Typically those are going to be abbreviations, so it'll just save us a little bit of time on typing, but we'll see that in a moment. So for this example, I'm going to use the track and genre tables. If I look in my track table and run the data here, we can see I have my title name, my song name, and I also have the foreign key to the genre table, which has the numbers in here which represent the primary key value of the associated record in the genre table. Now, if I look in the genre table, we can see I have the names of all of the available genres, and this is actually in this table acting as the primary key. So the query we're going to write overall is a single query to join the two tables together so that I can see the name of each track and its associated genre name all in my same result set. So let's just set this up and see how it goes. I'm going to get rid of this one, and I'm going to go in and join these two tables together as an inner join. So the table I want to join is my genre table, and the fields that represent the data link between these are the track.genreID field, and where it's equal to the genre.genreID field. When I run this, I'm going to get that ambiguously defined column error again. As we learned last time, that's because you have to fully qualify these every single time that you're putting it in here. So if I want to say the track name and genre ID from the track table, and let's just put this in so I have my genre name and genre ID field from the genre table. When I run this, because I have fully qualified every single field in my select list and in my join clause, you can see this now runs. Please note the column headings here, they put _1 on the end. That's simply because you cannot have a field in your result set named identically. So this would be a great place for you to use some column aliasing as well. But right now we're learning about table aliasing. So you can see here every single time that I want to write one of these column names that is ambiguous between both tables in my query, I need to fully type out the name of the table. Well, there's a shortcut way around that, and it's called table aliasing. Now, we saw before with column aliasing, I could put in, where genre ID as blah, and that would actually rename the column as whatever string I put in here. This is similar in concept, except you can do it at the table level now. So the way that I would do this is to simply, in my from clause, where I'm naming the table for the first time, I would actually just put in here, I don't know, TRK, an abbreviated version of the word track. And then immediately after the other table name, so anytime you're actually writing a table name in the from or in the join part of a join clause, you can actually, if you put a string after that is not a keyword, then that is how we actually give these tables aliases. So now if you look, if I run this now, I'm going to get, if we run this now, I'm going to get an error saying invalid identifier. Now what that is talking about, if you look in the top part of the error here, it says genre.genre ID. Invalid identifier means it doesn't recognize what I'm talking about. So this is a very important point. When you are table aliasing, the second that you do alias it by a certain name, within the context of this query, you must refer to the table by the aliased name from that point out. So what's happening here is where I'm saying track and track and track, it no longer recognizes the full name because I've aliased it. Now the way to fix this would be to simply, anywhere where I'm fully qualifying a field name by using the table name, I replace that with the alias name, and I would have to do the exact same thing for the genre as well. So you can see now the only two places where I'm referring to the actual table name are in the from clause and in the join part of the join clause here. Everywhere else where I'm referring to one of these ambiguous fields, then I'm using the alias name instead. When I run this, you can see this now works again because it's recognizing the aliasing. So in concept, table aliasing is pretty much the same as column aliasing, but there is one difference in that when I'm doing column aliasing, I use the as keyword, but that does not apply to table aliasing. You can see my little red squiggle comes up here. If I run this, it's going to actually give me an error saying SQL command not properly ended. That just means the syntax of the overall query, it's not something that's recognized because it wasn't expecting to see the word as here. If I remove that and rerun, you can see I have this, it's understanding it with the table aliasing, and it's also taking my column aliasing. So the big benefit here to table aliasing, of course, is it saves you a bunch of typing. I don't need to type out the full name of the table, which might be very long in some cases. I can just refer to it by the alias. Now, just as a convention, I know a lot of people will think, well, hey, why not just take this to the extreme and just simply use a table alias that is a single letter? And I will tell you that is very common. However, from experience, I typically tend to use 3 to 4 character abbreviations for the tables, simply because when you get into much more complex systems with a lot more tables in it, you might have 5 tables that start with the letter C. So you need to be able to distinguish between them, and otherwise, I mean, you can pick your own names. That's just more of a recommended way of abbreviating your tables, because ultimately you want to try and be as clear as you can in your abbreviations of any type, simply because they are for your benefit to save you some typing, but you do need to be able to understand what the abbreviations are when you're in the middle of a 10 table join query with all kinds of different fields in it. Yeah, you need to be able to just very quickly eyeball your abbreviation for your table alias and figure out, oh, was I talking about the customer table or the content table? So, hope this was helpful and that you save lots of typing in your queries from now on.